Hello and welcome to Health 318 Applied Epidemiology. My name is Adrienne Lent and I will be your instructor for the course this quarter. You are welcome to call me Adrienne, that's totally fine. You can also call me Dr. Lent, Professor Lent, any of those are fine. I'm really excited to be working with you this quarter. This is one of my favorite classes to teach at Cal Poly. I actually, when I was in my doctorate program at the University of Arizona, I got a concentration in epidemiology. And the reason I did that was because I started my doctoral program and I found that I just really didn't understand epidemiology at all. And I really wanted to understand it. So I decided to get a concentration in it and took a lot of classes in epidemiology. And so I hope that for those of you who have maybe struggled with epidemiology in the past, hopefully this class will be really helpful in supporting you in mastering the concepts of epidemiology, all the main concepts that you've learned about, and you're going to learn about additional concepts as well. So I'm excited to work with you. I'm here to support you through your learning journey in this course. So this course is going to review the major types of study designs used in epidemiological studies. You've already learned about study designs in Health 298, but we're going to start off the course by reviewing those study designs. Hopefully by the end of this course, you'll have a strong understanding of them. We're also going to spend a lot of time talking about some of the major issues in different epidemiological studies. And hopefully by the end of this class, you feel comfortable in critically reviewing research articles. Basically, I hope that instead of just reading a research article and taking the results at face value, which is what a lot of students typically do at the undergrad stage, hopefully you read an article and you're able to say, this was a really strong article because they did all of these things, or you read an article and you say, this is not the greatest article. There are a lot of weaknesses based on the things that they did, and maybe I don't totally agree with the author's conclusions. So you want to be able to critically review research, and hopefully this class will give you the tools to do that. This course is being taught this quarter online asynchronous, which means that we are not meeting for a scheduled lecture during a specific time in person. Rather, I am going to publish content every week that you're going to work through. There's going to be readings, there's going to be text you'll read in the Canvas modules. There's also going to be a lot of videos that explain the course content that you'll learn about. There are 2 lab sections this quarter, so make sure you attend the one that you're enrolled in. The Tuesday lab actually meets in person in the KPH building in that second floor computer lab from 8:10 to 11. And then and Dr. Zen is teaching that lab section, and I am teaching the Thursday lab section, which meets online from 12:10 to 3 on Zoom. So please make sure you're attending the correct lab section that you're enrolled in. This is our homepage on Canvas. I want to provide just a little bit of information so you know how to navigate this and also what the expectations are for the course. So there are 10 weeks of instruction, and these are all linked to the modules. So as you go through, you can click on those links. It will take you to that course content for that week that you'll need to complete. You'll see that it typically has the week number and then the topic that we're going to be covering that week. So for example, week 1, we're going to review study designs, and then you've got the lab right under that as well. The modules are going to be published each week. So you won't be able to, for example, in week 1, see the content for week 2, but by Monday of week 2, the week 2 content for that module will be available to you in Canvas. So just make sure to look for that information each week. I will also send out announcements as well. So for this class, you are going to have weekly material that you'll go through in terms of videos, readings, things like that to learn about the material that we're covering. You are also going to have discussion posts, which will be included in those weekly modules. You also have a group article critique presentation where for the lecture part of the class, you are going to work in groups. You're going to work in the same groups you've been working for your with on your lab project. You'll work with those groups. You're going to identify a research article that you want to read. You'll get approval for that article from me. And then once I approve it, then towards the end of the quarter, you will basically answer some questions, critiquing and reviewing the article, applying the concepts that we've learned during the quarter. There are also 2 midterms for the course. Your first midterm comes up pretty early in week 4, and then you also have another midterm at the beginning of week 8. There is also a final exam that takes place on Canvas that is going to be open all of finals week from Monday through Friday. For the midterms, you'll complete those on Canvas as well. You have 90 minutes in one sitting to take that exam, and then the final exam, you have 3 hours to take that exam in one sitting as well. So all of your assigned readings, the videos, anything that you'll need to complete, it will be posted to the Canvas module for that week. So in the next few minutes here, I want to go over the important material, specifically the syllabus for this course, to make sure that you understand the expectations for the class. So if you click on this Meet Your Instructor page here, this is my office hours information. I am going to have office hours on Wednesdays from 12:10 to 3. They are on Zoom. Note, I am usually in my office during my Zoom office hours. So if you want to come by in person, just let me know. That's totally fine. But just shoot me an email before so I know to expect you, to make sure that I'm actually there. If that time doesn't work for you, you have class, you have work, you have something else going on, that's totally fine. Please send me an email. I'm happy to meet with you outside of those Zoom office hours from that 12:10 to 3. We can find another time that works best for you. I will say, I think one of the most important tips for success in this class is to come to office hours. This material isn't always the easiest to understand, and so if you come to office hours, I can sit down and go over the material one-on-one with you, or also in a group setting as well. This page has the course information and information on the materials you'll need for the course. So again, it's asynchronous online for the lecture, meaning you're going to complete work on Canvas every week. In terms of required materials, I am going to post all of the readings, everything that you need. It will be available on Canvas for you. This is the required textbook. However, we're not using all of the chapters. There's only a few chapters we're using. I am posting those as PDFs to Canvas for you. So you don't need to purchase this textbook. However, it's a really great textbook. So I would encourage you to buy a used copy if it's something that you think that you'll use. However, you don't actually need to buy a book for this class. These are your learning outcomes for the course. My overall goal for you is that you leave this class feeling comfortable, reviewing a research article, and basically understanding and being able to determine for yourself, is this a strong article? Is this a strong study? Or is this a study that has a lot of weaknesses? If it's a really strong study that's been done, you might feel that you agree with the conclusions that have been written by the author, and then you can make decisions based on those results. But you also might read a study and think, wow, there's some major issues in terms of the way that they maybe measured variables that led to, for example, information bias. Maybe the way that they selected people in the study was a really big problem, and it's got a really big issue of selection bias. And if there are some of these really big problems, maybe you decide that you don't agree with the results of the study and you make different decisions that are maybe different from what the authors say the results are. So your specific learning outcomes for this course include being able to identify the major sources of what we call systematic error and random error. When we're talking about systematic error, we're talking about bias in our studies. So hopefully you'll get a really good understanding of these different causes of bias in our research studies, as well as what we call random error, how to try and minimize those in our studies, and what are some of the best practices that we can do to try and minimize these issues. You'll be able to critically evaluate evidence and determine if there actually is a causal association between a risk factor and a health outcome. You'll be able to interpret different analyses that we typically use in epidemiological research and interpret the estimates that you get. You get some time to actually practice doing this with your lab. So that part is really fun. Your lab instructor will be able to help walk you through that part, and you'll get some hands-on experience using statistical software. Your fourth learning outcome is to be able to identify what we call effect modification and be able to explain the difference between effect modification and confounding. We will talk about that. You'll be able to explain the potential risks and benefits of screening tests. So you've probably recently heard of like COVID rapid tests. Those are screening tests for COVID. And so these have been really popular and used widely because of the pandemic. Not all screening tests are really good at maybe detecting the presence of disease in people who have the disease. Some are really good at that. Some are really bad at that, and they're not as good at that. So we're going to learn about how to actually quantify the validity of screening tests and determine whether they're really good or maybe they're not so great at detecting disease. And then you'll be able to describe how social and environmental factors affect health behaviors and outcomes. We're going to read a lot of different research articles on different health topics in this class. And so you'll get a pretty broad understanding of some of the different relationships between health behaviors and outcomes. And then lastly, you'll be able to really understand and explain the importance of epidemiology in whatever discipline it is that you decide to pursue. If you go to work for a public health department, you'll very quickly see how important epidemiology is. But if you want to go and work in clinical medicine, you're going to see this quarter how important it is to understand epidemiology and be able to determine, for example, should we be recommending a specific treatment in a specific group, or maybe is there a group we shouldn't be providing that treatment to? Maybe that treatment is harmful or it's not effective in that particular group. Maybe you go into economics. Epidemiology is applicable to basically every discipline that you decide to go into. This is our planned schedule for the lecture this quarter. This might change, but as of right now, this is what it's going to be. You'll see that in this schedule, you've got the topic that we're going to cover, the readings that you'll need to read, and then we've also got the assignments that are due. So every week, you've got Canvas material you need to complete online, and then you also have a discussion post that's due. And so on Thursdays, your initial post needs to be completed on Canvas, and then you need to reply to your classmate by Sunday. So every Thursday and Sunday, you are going to have discussion posts that are required to be completed for that given week. In addition to those discussion posts each week, you'll notice that there is a midterm scheduled in week 4. And then there is another midterm scheduled in week 8. You will also have your final exam that's open on Canvas between Monday and Friday of finals week. And then your group article critique is not on here. I'll need to update this schedule, but it will be due towards the end of the quarter. This is what your lab schedule is going to look like. So basically you we'll be working on most of the quarter. You're going to be working on a group project. So your group is going to pick a research question, meaning you're going to select an independent and a dependent variable that you want to examine. You're going to do some background research in terms of a literature review on that particular research question. And then you're going to actually design a survey. You're going to send that survey out to everybody in the class. You're going to collect that data. You're going to then analyze that data in statistical software. You'll interpret the results and you'll write up a paper that presents all of those results and the work that you've done. And then you're also going to have an oral presentation that you will record, and then we will all watch during the week 10 lecture. This page in the online syllabus has basically your grades and how your grades are going to be calculated. So you have 2 midterms that are worth 40 points each. You have that group article critique that's worth 40 points each. The online discussion posts, there are 10 of them and they're worth 5 points. You also have a series of lab assignments and a final lab report. All of those total 90 points, and then you have a comprehensive final exam that covers everything that we've learned in the quarter that is worth 90 points as well. There's information on some of these assignments, so you can look at that there. One thing I want to point out is that if you have any issues with a grade, please come to me as soon as possible. Don't wait like 2 weeks and then reach out about something. If there is a gradebook correction, please let me know immediately when you notice that issue. Accessibility and diversity are really important to me, especially in this class. First off, I want to say that I know the DRC is often overwhelmed with accommodation requests, and sometimes it takes them a little longer to make those requests official. So if you do have any accommodations that you need, you're maybe in the process of getting those and they haven't been formally approved yet, just send me an email, come talk to me. I'm happy to work with you to make sure that those do get implemented, even if they're still being processed. The other thing I want to mention is diversity and inclusion. This course, the material you are learning is not the easiest material. You are going to make mistakes. You're going to have online discussion boards. You might write something that's maybe not correct in a discussion board. That is totally fine. You are learning. And so this learning environment needs to be a respectful one where we are all learning together and working together to understand what is often very complicated course material. And so I want to make sure that environment remains respectful and collaborative. And so I won't tolerate any kind of harassment or any kind of negativity in those online discussion posts. Whether you're working together in your group lab projects, anything in this class, it needs to be a respectful environment. If you are going to not make a deadline for an assignment, please reach out to me as soon as you know that you are going to need that extra time. I am happy to work with you to give you extra time on assignments. But it's much easier for me to do that if you let me know as soon as possible. So maybe you have, for example, a discussion post that is due on Thursday evening and you got stuck late at work, you weren't expecting that, and you need an additional day. Let me know on Thursday or Friday morning as soon as you know that information. Please don't wait like 2 or 3 weeks and then say, hey, I really want to complete that thing I missed. Can I do that now? I'm probably going to say no. But if you need some additional time, if you let me know in a timely manner, I'm happy to work with you on that. If you do reach out for a request for additional time, just make sure you put Health 318 in the subject line. I do teach multiple courses, so it's really helpful if you put that in there. This next page in the syllabus on Canvas talks about academic honesty, particularly around cheating and plagiarism. One of the things in this course that I allow you to do is for your exams, they are open note, meaning that you can use all of the notes that you took throughout the quarter on those exams. So for example, midterm 1, you can use all of your notes that you took all the way up through the material we've covered for that midterm 1. The requirement is that you work alone. You cannot work on any exam with anybody else. I hope that's really clear. You can use your notes. You cannot work together with anybody else on an exam. You also have some writing that you're going to need to do for your paper that you work on for the lab. And so that needs to all be in your own words and properly cited. You cannot take text that's been written somewhere else and then apply it for your assignment. So academic honesty is very important to me. If you have any questions about citing sources or anything like that, please contact your lab instructor. I know I am, and I know Dr. Zen is. We are happy to help you navigate proper citations and things like that. This page has information on some student support that is available at Cal Poly. Some things I want to highlight is the food pantry. It's an amazing resource, and I feel like it's so underused by Cal Poly students. And so there's no eligibility. You can go in there and they have so much good food. So definitely stop by that if that's something you're interested in. There are also all kinds of other resources for student support. So you can look through all of these links here if you need. The Writing Center is a really great one. You're going to be writing a big report basically at the end of the quarter, and I notice that students often struggle with writing. So that's a really great resource to help you with your writing if that's something you're trying to improve. Very quickly, I want to go over what a typical module will look like. So you will always have, it'll say the week and then the topic and the dates. And so there will always be an overview page that provides you with information on what we're going to be covering that week. So you'll see that this has a brief statement that we're going to be covering study designs. These are your learning outcomes, and then these are the tasks that you'll actually have to complete for that specific week. And then you can go, if I go back, you can see these are all of the pages within the module that go over all of those study designs. You'll have the assignments that are due. You'll see your discussion is here. You'll have to make that initial post by Thursday with a reply by Sunday. And then you've also got, for all of the course content, you've got these optional practice problems. They're not required, they're there to help you. So I highly recommend that you do them. They will help you assess where you are in terms of your understanding of the course material. Lastly, I just wanted to end this video by giving you some tips for success. These are things that I have seen that have been really helpful to students in the past. Like I said, this material is not the easiest sometimes to understand, and so there's a number of things that you can do to really make sure that you do well in this class. And so one of them is to complete the assigned readings. I have specifically picked the readings for this class because they are really aligned with what we're learning about, and they do a really good job of presenting the information. Complete the optional practice problems. It's very rare in a course that you get an opportunity to complete practice problems that aren't graded. So you typically will take, in other classes, you might take a weekly quiz, and you might do well on that quiz, or you might not do well on that quiz, right? And so I get feedback from students that says this is difficult material and they're learning it for the first time. So I want to provide this opportunity for you, basically a no stakes, low stakes way to assess where you are in terms of your understanding of the material in a way that's not going to punish you if you don't do well. So make sure to complete those practice problems. There are problems available each week, and so work through those. Make sure you understand the material, and one of the biggest ways you can do this is looking and reviewing those problems that you maybe miss in the practice problems. And if you miss questions on the exam, find out why you missed that question. Don't just ignore it and move on. Ask for help. Ask questions by coming to office hours. You can ask questions in lab about some of the things you're doing. I would highly recommend that so you understand the lab material. We're also going to have discussion posts where you have the opportunity to ask questions, but come to office hours. We don't get time face-to-face for the lecture part of this class. You have a lot of videos and things like that. So I really, really recommend that to do well in this class, you really need to come to office hours and talk about course material with me as well as other students in the class. Make sure to actively participate in class, meaning you're making those discussion posts, you're doing completing all the material that's been assigned, and then communicate early and often with your instructor. So whether that's me for the lecture or the Thursday lab or Dr. Zen for the Tuesday lab, make sure you've got open communication. If you have questions or you need an extension on something, we are here to support you.